Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I do my light or white colored watercolor flowers. So let's do it. Okay everyone, so to start I'm just going to go through a quick run through of my materials. I have my Arches watercolor paper, I have my palette that has Winsor & Newton watercolors in it, I have a size 12 round brush by Princeton. You can use whatever brush size that you like, as long as it's round. It just basically if you want to make bigger flowers or smaller flowers. My water and my paper towel. So to start painting white-ish flowers, obviously the paper's white, you can't really just use white paint on white paper. You're gonna make a very light wash of whatever kind of undertone that you want. So the flower that I'm doing is a delphinium. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This picture I just got off Pinterest. I want to do a white one. I also pinned this one where there's white ones and purple ones just to get different tones. But yeah, so if you look at the white ones, you can see a close-up. Nothing's really white. Maybe the highlights are, but you're going to get a very light wash of gray, yellow tones, green tones, and even on this one, you get even some darker grays and little purple hues, right? Because they're next to purple flowers. So I'm going to show you quickly how I would do these flowers. So if you look at my palette already, it's quite a mess, but I use all these colors. I just add some water to colors that I've previously used and I reuse them. Now here I have a really, really light wash of gray. Has a little bit of gray, and a navy blue undertone. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it's there. So I'm going to be using that color. And if I wanted it to be a little bit darker, all I have to do is just tap maybe a little bit of black there to add a bit more. And there you go. You want it to be a really light wash. So you want your brush quite wet so you can go back in and add the other tones. So I'm looking at a picture for reference. You can just go by what you feel. But I'm just going to start creating these little flowers. Now it's hard to see. They have like a little more bulbous shapes at the top. It's really hard to see because I'm using such a light wash, but when it does dry, you'll see it better. And when I add some other undertones. But yeah, just very loose kind of blobs almost. Now you don't want them to touch because you're going to add the stem in later. I might even want it a little bit darker, so I'm gonna just tap the black. Just add lots of water, not too much water where it's crazy, but so some of them obviously can connect. I'm leaving little white spaces, I don't know if you can see that, in the middle of some of the flowers, so I can add either that yellow or greenish middle to them, but you want to leave little spaces in between, so because when you add the stem, that's kind of what really brings it together and it really pops, and that's like my favorite part to do. So here, just make sure it's still wet. This is the benefit of using Arches watercolor paper. It stays wet a lot longer. And see, this is just very, very messy kind of shapes. Like it doesn't have to be perfect at all. Okay. Just kind of messy, roundish shapes with a little bit of a hole in the middle. Okay, so I have a lot of my flowers. I hope you can see that. It's very, very light. Okay, so now I'm going to add a bit of, let's do purple. I'm gonna add yellow too, but I'm gonna add like a purple undertone to some of them. So if you see here, I have like the tiniest bit of purple. You don't want a lot because you don't want it to be overpowering. And I'm just gonna add it to little parts of each of the flowers. I just want a really light undertone of purple. You could do pink, you could do blue. Okay, but you don't want it overwhelming. You add a lot of paint, then it's gonna get quite crazy. And then when it dries, you'll see that you really don't need a lot of color because the way it dries, you'll just, I don't know, you'll be able to see it better. Okay, you can even add some pink in there if you want, blues, whatever, okay? Like this. Keep looking at the camera to make sure you can see some of it because it's so light. Okay, like it's a little bit darker there, which is totally fine. Maybe that's more of the shadow. But you gotta make sure that your flowers, your first layer of the really light wash of gray is still wet. Otherwise, this is just gonna be another layer on top and it won't blend. You really gotta make sure that your paper stays wet for long, which is why I suggest getting arches, because it does that. Okay, so there's a light purple undertone. I'm gonna take a smaller brush now. I have a size 6 to do the stem. So I have some green I've already made here. Depends on what color green you want to do. I usually like doing a little bit of a darker green. So I add purple and dark hooker's green, I think it's called. Might add a little bit of sap green in there, like this. Okay, again, a light wash. You don't want it too heavy. It's a very delicate kind of flower. I'm gonna start at the bottom. I'm just gonna go up, but you want it still wet because you want it to touch the little bits of the flower so it blends nicely. And this is where it kind of makes it look really awesome. Okay, so just kind of where you think you would see the stem coming up. You don't want to go through the whole thing, but just touch little bits of it. Okay, now I might go back in with a different green too. I'm going to add a bit more of the sap green, so it's a bit brighter too. This is my favorite part of doing these flowers, is the stem, because I think it just kind of like brings it to life, you know? Okay, so not too much, but then I might add some more darkness, sorry. Just different parts of it. Just to add some depth into the stem, like that. Okay, and then there's the stem. Then I'm gonna go, because the middles were kind of like a yellowy mustardy type, so I have this, I think it's yellow ochre. I hope I'm pronouncing properly. I might get a little bit of brown in there too. I don't want it too yellowy. But then I'm just gonna go into the middle of the flowers and just add some dots, and then if it blends, that works too. Not for all of them, just some. Now see, it's starting to dry, so it's not really blending as well. It dries really fast. The tricky part of watercolor sometimes, if you want to use these blending techniques, is that you have to work pretty fast. But there's our delphinium flower, which I absolutely love doing. I love them. They're so light and delicate. They look really nice on cards or whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's how I do those. Okay, so the next flower I'm going to show you how to do is an anemone flower. They're white and they have this beautiful navy in the middle. So as you see, you can get little bits of gray there. And then the way I do it, I'm really going to use the navy to kind of blend. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I will show you what I mean. So this is the flower that I'm going to show you how to do next. Okay, I'm just going to put it right beside this one. So again, I'm going to take that light gray color. Now I already put yellow here, but it was so little that it really doesn't matter. Honestly, you could even use a bit of a yellow tone for the white part of the flower. Doesn't really matter. It's kind of a brown now. And if you ever make a mistake or you don't like the color you made, just wipe it off. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of the black like that, so it's really light. Okay. Okay, now this one, you're gonna be doing petals outwards and leaving the middle plain so you can put the navy in after. So I'm just gonna make sure my brush is really wet. And I'm just gonna kind of do a rough petal shape. And you don't want it too perfect. You know, these are loose watercolor flowers. Don't get too discouraged over the shape. Just leave the middle white without any paint on it. You know, leave some white space too between your petals. Just gives it, creates that highlight for some. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, I'm just gonna do another little one down here, okay? So it's just kind of like a petal shape, very loose and messy. Okay, I just created too much black, it's fine. Okay. Sorry for my rambling. I hope I'm explaining this properly. This one's a little darker. I added a bit more black on this one, so I'm just gonna take some of the color off by adding more water on my brush. Okay, but even the middle, see how it's not perfectly round? I think the messier or less perfect it is, the better it looks, but that's just my opinion. Okay. All right, now, I'm gonna add some navy. So I have this like indigo color. I'm gonna get a smaller brush with my 6. Okay, so I have this like indigo-y color here, and I want it a little darker because the picture's a little darker, so I'm gonna add a little bit of black. That's too much black. Okay, around that. Okay, and I'm just going to create like a small circle. Now, not touching the petals yet. Okay, a small circle in the middle. And then I'm going to gently tap around it. Okay, you can create more dots and stuff. Just gonna add a bit more paint. You can see this, right? And this one. Now you want it to blend, and that's kind of how you're gonna see the color through the white flower. That, and then also adding leaves around it will show the shape of the white flower more. Because yeah, it's hard to see how light it is. Now I'm gonna move to doing the oh my goodness, the leaves around it before it dries, because I want it to blend. Okay, so I got my kind of sagey green here. I'm just gonna gently touch the petals of the flowers. Oh my gosh, guys, sorry. I'm pregnant and my brain doesn't work most of the time. So that's why I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm just gonna, I see it already started to dry here, so it's not blending as much as I would have liked. But it is what it is. Blend, there he is. Thank you. So you really got to work fast to make sure it blends, right? Because the surrounding leaves will also blend into that whitish gray color and give it the shape so you can actually see it, because it's hard to see because it's so light. Okay. See, that's not really what you want. I wish it was wet here so that blended, because it's just a bit too precise. You want that nice blend there, but it is what it is. Okay, so you gotta make sure you kind of work fast and just kind of work your way up to getting there. Even I make mistakes sometimes, and by sometimes I mean lots of times. And yeah, you can just add florals, or sorry, leaves around, and yeah, and that's how you do it. So once you add more, even flowers too, or leaves, you'll really get to see the shape of the white flower, even though it's so light. I really hope the light in here is doing it justice, because it does end up looking pretty awesome when it's all done. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you learned something. If you like, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram for more live tutorials. And if you have any comments, make sure to comment below. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.